So when you think of Kraków, what comes to mind? For most people, it's one of Europe's most beautiful, perfectly preserved cities. Something straight out of a fairy tale, right? But what if I told you that postcard-perfect surface was hiding a much, much darker story? Today we're going to go beneath the stones to uncover a history you've probably never even heard of.
Okay, so you've just arrived. Your first stop is probably going to be right here, in Rynek Główny, the main market square. I mean, it's one of the biggest medieval squares in all of Europe, and it's the beating heart of the city, absolutely buzzing with life. It's so easy to see why most people just fall in love with it at first sight.
Then you look up, and bam, there it is. Wawel Castle, sitting right on its hill above the Vistula River. For centuries, this place has been the symbolic center of Poland. It's this incredible mix of Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque styles all in one. It just feels timeless, like it's always been there, totally untouched.
And of course, you can't miss St. Mary's Basilica. Those two mismatched towers basically define the skyline. And what's really cool is that every hour you hear this trumpet call echoing from the taller tower. It's a tradition that ties the city you're standing in right now directly to a past from centuries ago. It's a city that just seems to wear its history so proudly.
But see, that's the story you see on the surface. What if, behind all that beauty, there's a story of almost complete annihilation? A catastrophe so huge that you can still see the scars today, if you just know where to look.
All right, let's rewind. We're going back to the 17th century, to a conflict that, for pretty much everyone outside of Poland, is a total historical blind spot. This is an event known in Poland as Potop Szwedzki, or the Swedish Deluge.
Now, the deluge, the name itself tells you a lot. This wasn't just a war, it was a flood, a near-apocalyptic invasion by the Swedish Empire, which, you have to remember, was a massive military power back then. This event would completely wreck the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which was one of the biggest countries in Europe at the time.
So, what kicked this whole thing off? Well, it all goes back decades to, you guessed it, some classic royal family drama. The Polish king, Sigismund III, technically had a claim to the Swedish throne, but his uncle booted him out. For years, the Polish kings wouldn't let it go. Basically, it was a ticking time bomb. So, in 1655, with Poland already worn down from other wars, Sweden saw their moment, and they took it. They invaded.
And the result of that invasion? I mean, it was catastrophic on a scale that's hard to even wrap your head around. It can all be summed up with one simple, brutal fraction: 1/3. What on earth could that number represent?
1/3 of the entire population gone. Lost to war, to famine, to disease. You have to understand, this wasn't just a war between armies. This was a total demographic collapse that brought the nation to its knees.
And what about the money, the economic damage? Get this is going to blow your mind. As one Reddit user pointed out, the deluge caused more financial damage to Poland, in relative terms, than World War II. Yeah, World War II. The Swedes didn't just fight, they were systematic. They plundered everything: art, wealth, you name it.
And here's the thing, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. The evidence of the deluge is literally everywhere in Poland today, hiding right in plain sight. You just have to learn how to see it.
So let's circle back to that tourist perspective for a second. We see these incredible castles, and we just assume they've always looked like this. We see history, right? But what we're missing is the incredible story of survival that's underneath it all.
But here's the reality on the ground. As someone pointed out online, when you're traveling around Poland, you'll see all these beautiful, romantic-looking castle ruins. And almost every single time, the little plaque nearby tells the exact same story: destroyed during the Swedish deluge. The entire landscape is basically a museum of this one war.
I mean, the destruction was so total, it completely changed the country's architecture forever. So many of the great castles from that era were so badly damaged, they were just never the same again. This history isn't locked away in a book, it's written in the stones right in front of your eyes.
Okay, and this is where the story gets really fascinating. How can an event this massive, this world-changing, be remembered so completely differently? Because for Poland, it's a defining national trauma. But for Sweden, well, it's a whole other story.
Just look at the difference here. In Poland, this is a core part of their national story. It's literally in their national anthem. And there's still real frustration today about priceless art that was stolen and is still sitting in Swedish museums. But in Sweden, it's a historical footnote, barely a blip on the radar, often overshadowed by a war they were fighting with Denmark at the same time.
This quote from a Swedish Reddit user kind of nails the feeling, and it's pretty funny.
They said their history education felt like they just jumped from the Stone Age to World War II. It really highlights how these huge, complex parts of their imperial history just get skipped.
And look, it's not just a feeling people have, it's real. A big, recent TV series in Sweden about their own history apparently skipped right over the deluge again, and they summed up the entire invasion of Poland, the thing that killed a third of the population, as just a bolder foreign policy. Wow. Talk about an understatement, right?
Okay, so let's bring this all back to where we started. Back to that stunning city. How does knowing all of this change the way we look at a place like Kraków?
When you see the beauty of Krakow's old town now, you realize it's not beautiful because it was untouched. It's beautiful because it survived, because it was rebuilt. You're not just looking at old stones. You're looking at a testament to resilience, to endurance against odds that are just almost impossible to imagine.
So, what do we take away from all this? First, that history is always in layers. There's often a hidden story right under that perfect surface. Second, that one single event can mean two totally different things to two different countries. And maybe the biggest one is this: the places we travel to, they're not just photo ops. They are living, breathing monuments to these incredible stories of survival.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? The next time you're walking through a beautiful old city, anywhere in the world, just stop for a second and ask yourself, what stories are these stones hiding? What great forgetting might be covering up an even greater story?